Okay, ready? Okay, wonderful. So, welcome to Tucker All India Test 3, mock test 1. So, today we will discuss CSAT paper 1, PT mock test 1, CSAT paper 2. See, before we go into discussing this paper, I would like you to, tell us what you have to do, right? Let's say the state of mind. That is the most important question. I always believe the state of mind question is more important than what is your syllabus, what is the optional. The state of mind is very, very important. See, CSAT or UPSC, then it's a competitive examination. Till you do not have that, see, somebody says, I do not have that intellect, chalega. Somebody says, I do not have that background, educational background, chalega. Because those things can be built, right? But somebody said, if I do not have that state of mind, that zeal to work hard, then there is some problem. So let us, see, discussing this paper is, it will happen. Don't worry about that. What is more important is, let's say, you are appearing for this, right? See that. And let's say, who are your competitors, right? Competitors are there. Although this is a qualifying examination, you have to, even if you correct 27, 28 question out of 80, and and it is generally assumed that any person of, ordinary intellect also, but now what is happening, the paper is difficult. See, if you see 2021 and 22 paper, it is difficult paper. This paper is, more, this paper is even more difficult than your paper which you will get in UPSC. There are some wonderful questions. But again, as the, many students could not qualify due to, this CSAT thing. So what you have to keep, see, the qualifying is different thing, but while you prepare for CSAT, it can, if you do it, with full energy, full concentration, it can take you to a higher intellectual level, higher, energy level, which will help you also do well in, let's say, other section of the UPSC preparation. Let's say, GS 4 papers, essay. And how it will happen? Let's say this paragraph is there, right? If this paragraph, if you can, let's say there are many people who will read this paragraph line by line, right? They will try to identify which is the correct option and the story is done. Another thing is, let's say, understand the thought of the writer. Why, let's say why UPSC, okay, understand this thought, why UPSC is testing you for a difficult CSAT paper. So let's say somebody says, let's say there's an administrator, right? Somebody says, what is the 5% of 2.6, right? Now, if somebody says, okay, I have to open my calculator and calculate 2.6 ka 5%, then there is some problem, right? It shows that, knowledge to hard work is not equal. So, okay, when you think, let's say, let's say mathematician, then somebody may multiply it. But this paper is not, it's a paper of mathematics. This paper is a aptitude. Aptitude means ability to learn. The moment you see 5%, okay, you will say 5 is nothing but the half of 10. You will see, okay, half of 10. So this means you have to, I have to get the, half of 2.6. So the moment it will come 1.3 in your mind, right? Then you will adjust the decimal thing. So what my point to say is 2 into 4, one thing is visualizing 2 into 4 is equal to 8. Another thing is visualizing 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 is equal to 8. Although this looks like, class 2, 3, 5, primary level, thought, but this is a thought you have to keep in your mind. See, your mind can think, okay, 2 into 4 is equal to 8. But what will happen for large numbers? Let's say somebody says 22 into 27, right? How you will think here? Can you, okay, are you going to take, multiply 22 into 27? No, right? You are out of competition. See, there is one more indication. If you are writing too much in your CSAT paper, right? If you are making too many equations, forget in CSAT, even in CAT or, GMAT examination, if you are making too many equations, then there is something wrong in your, in that candidate's thought process. See, even the number of rough pages are only 2 and 3, right? So you have to be in that state of mind, okay. You must also know which question you do not have to attempt. There are some, traps. If you keep on attempting those questions, time will be gone. So this is, this is the thoughts I want to convey. The state of mind is more important. See, your competitors are going to be, let's say, somebody says, I studied in the top 20 B schools, so he or she already qualified CAT or ZAT. They are going to be a competitor, right? For them, they are not even going to prepare for CSAT because they have that background. Let's say, some student with mathematics background, some student with, let's say, wonderful background in comprehensive reading comprehension skills. For them, it is going to be very easy. But again, let's say who does not have these advantages, they can also, through hard work, through state of mind, through labor, they can also do wonderful in this examination. See, discussing this question paper is very, very easy. What my task, what the message I want to convey today is, let's say, if discussion of this question paper can throw you at a higher thought plank, it can help you visualize. Okay, not only CSAT, even let's say any other quantitative thing, especially in mathematics, in both reading comprehension and aptitude part, that is quantitative aptitude. How I am going to think, if it can change your thinking process, that is my aim. Okay, so let's start with this one, this passage. Now, see, I believe you have read this passage, and let me show you in examination scenario. See, what is the correct option? All those things are fine. First, I want to show you in examination scenario how you are going to read this passage. Let's say, I will say most scholarship regarding the, see, the way my, okay, let's see, the way my mind will work. Okay, I first read this line. Most scholarship regarding the sudden disappearance of the, see, even I am stammering. See, the mind, did you observe? I am not able to pronounce disappearance. Why? Because my mind went into a different thought process. It is not allowing me to spell disappearance. So that mental thing has to be so quick that, and you have to know where to stop, where to skim, which line, you can put it, and how this happens. There is no shortcut. The answer is practice only. But again, something through this session you must learn. Most scholarship regarding the sudden disappearance of the Olmec civilization 2000 has focused on the change in the okay. The moment I say okay, see, the most important part is on the change in the meteorological condition favorable to subsistence crop. Okay, why I am keeping the most important part? Because the first part I said, okay, most scholarship regarding the sudden disappearance, okay, and it has focused on the, okay, so these two things are important, disappearance and this. Much of this research is over, okay, then I said, okay, much of this research overlooked the role of changing geography. See, I am not going to underline all these things in examination, but while you practice, try to think this way. In examination scenario, all these things is going to happen in your mind. You are not even going to touch pen and paper, right? Right. So this is okay. Then they talked about this Koldak River, the main river passing through the could have had notable tributary diverted as a result of the climate change, leading not only to severe flooding in the certain areas, but also a lack of sufficient water for the for subsistence plant near the erstwhile alluvial plain. Okay. So first he talked about focused on the change in the meteorological condition. Then he said much of this research overlooked the role of the changing geography. Then he gave an example. What the example? This river, which is passing through the Levanta, could have had notable tributary diverted as a result of climate change. Okay, leading not only to severe flooding in certain areas, but also a lack of sufficient water for. Okay, now so he has conveyed two ideas. Then see the keyword, and this keyword is important. Such a view, however, such a view, however. See, the moment you see however, you have to be cautious. Okay, now the author is going to change his tone. And see, the same, okay, now let's say in UPSC, aspirants are generally in the age of 22 to 32, right? Okay, so, 32 plus some year. So, in this age group, you cannot, it is almost impossible, right, to write a paragraph like this. It takes, the one who has written this paragraph, he has a life learning, right? He must have 20, maybe many books. He's an intellect, it shows his work. And so, see, you have to imagine the one who wrote this paragraph. I'm not claiming I wrote this paragraph, some writer wrote it and of a very, very high intellect. How his or her mind is working. See, logically, first paragraph, then, then how he or she is arranging this thought. If you can do that kind of churning, right, and see, it might look like, we are investing, let's say 10-15 minutes on one question, but if you can go into that nuances, okay, not only, if I understand this writer's thought, I will understand the thought of many other passages to go. There is a wonderful writer from India, he, no more, Raja Rao, Dr. Raja Rao. He wrote a book, Kanthapura. It is, wonderful book in the history of, let's say, social history. It talks about Gandhiji. He wrote one thing. Let's say, if you understand your village well, you will understand the country and the, civilization or the world well. So the same way, if you understand this paragraph, fully, what the writer is trying to say, how his or her thought is changing, why he used this keyword, what kind of question are appearing, then if with that foundation, you can very easily move into other questions. So what is happening here? The thought is changing, right? So what they are saying, however, to fail to account for the resilience of the people capable of transferring crops and moving settlement as a need be. So what they said, due to, river tributary directed is, so what they are saying, okay, this view fails to account for the resilience of people capable of transferring crops and moving settlement as a view. Tributary change ho gaya, so they can move to some other place. So, but, okay, now see, now he already discussed 3 ideas. Now there is a time. Now the writer is again changing the thought. What they are saying, what was more likely responsible for the downfall of the internal descent. While reading such paragraphs, even in UPSC, you have to keep the track of the level of thoughts, how the writer is changing his tone. See, a tone, right, logic, what message he is conveying, and those keywords. However, what was more likely? These kind of, if you understand this kind of keywords, by the time you will finish the paragraph, you will need not to read the correct option. See, what can happen even with some practice. Let's say somebody says, I scored, 99 plus 99.9 in CAT or, that. If he or she has gone through that kind of, process, so just reading the paragraph, you can visualize what kind of question author is going to ask. Author of maybe this examination, because the author tried to convey some idea. Okay, through this paragraph, if the question are not on the same important idea, then the question are not good, right? And this is what is tested in most of this aptitude examination. So what happened here? Okay. How किस तरह करना है? What was more likely responsible for the downfall of the Olmec civilization was the internal descent brought on by the ecological change, since a leadership unable to control event was likely to be perceived as weak. कहाँ से करना है मुझे बताइए? ये? Okay. ठीक है? ठीक है? Okay. So, without the central governance needed to adapt to crop subsistence pattern, the Olmec likely became a collection of feuding clans, and within a few generations all but disappeared. See, we invested some time in this. Now forget what is question and what the author is trying to say. Author started with some thought, and the thought was mainly on the disappearance of the Olmec civilization, right? And he talked about the change in the meteorological condition, right? After that, okay, ठीक है. Then he talked about, then he said, the river changed the course. Then he said, okay, such a view, however, fails to account for the resilience of the people. Even if the river can change the path, the people can, transfer themselves and grow the crop at some other place. Then he said, okay. Then he said, okay, story is fine, but what is the more likely is the internal descent brought on by the ecological change. See what happens when there is a famine, right? During famine or during drought, governance has to be very, very strong. If you do not provide food, food, clothing to the people at the right time, what happened in the pandemic? See, during pandemic, our fiscal deficit increased. Why? We had no other choice. We have to provide food and safety to the people, right? So the same thought he is trying to convey here. So in the last line, he said, without the central governance needed to adapt crop subsistence pattern, the Olmec likely became a collection of feuding clans. So if there is no central governance, people will fight among themselves, the clans, and this is the main thought. So once you have understood this paragraph well, see what happens, and it is very natural when you read a paragraph. In examination scenario, your thought is, okay, I have to go through this quickly and I have to see the option. See, in examination scenario, that is fine. But when you're practicing in your study room, that time you have to let your mind free. Free means not, laziness. Free means ready to let it go into a deeper thought. And how that will happen when you are, when the writer is conveying something, that time you are not too worried about, what is my options, which option is correct. You have to feel his or her message. If you can do that, you will understand the, crux of, forget CSET, even CAT examination like, CAT, GMAT. So that is the main message I want to convey. Now, let's see the questions. Solving question is now what they are trying to say, which of the following, if true, would best undermine the theory the author of the passage provides for the sudden disappearance of the Olmec, right? This civilization. See, generally, when you practice, so okay, suppose somebody reads this question first time, then to understand this is going to be difficult. But in aptitude exams, such questions are asked very often. So what they are saying, if one of these options is true, which of these would undermine is the keyword here, undermine the theory of the author. Author is trying to convey some theory, and if one of these is correct, then which will undermine the sudden disappearance of the Olmec civilization, right? Olmec civilization. Now this is thing. Okay, now what will you churning in your mind? See, at this crucial moment, you do not have to, think. See, CSAT is no more like, bank PO and other examination. It has gone at a higher plank that bank POs and all. Although it is not still reached that level of CAT and the other GMAT examination. So, but still, while solving CSAT, you cannot use some mathematical tricks. No, there is no mathematical tricks or some tricks in RC. The trick is only one, that is clear thought and hard work. So what you will, the moment you read question, you will think, okay, the author conveys 3 messages. Those 3 messages are in your mind, and now what this question is saying, if one of this is correct, which of is correct, then that will undermine the message of the author. With this thought, now you can go much easily. Much of the flooding that resulted came not from diverted tributaries, but by rainfall that intensified over the course of the trade. See what this is trying to say. See what they are saying, much of the flooding. See, author said something that the flooding happened because the river changed the course, and so now what this option is saying, much of the flooding that resulted came not from any diverted tributaries but by rainfall. By flooding that happened by rainfall that intensified over the course of a decade. So this is fine. See, the moment you read this option, you said, okay, See what the author said. Author का idea था कि okay, he talked about disappearance of the civilization due to meteorological condition. Then he talked about change of course, and then he said okay, no, this is not the complete story. There is a due to the internal descent brought about by the ecological problems. So you will say okay, this is not hitting on the main idea of the author. So here is the problem. See, if you can have this kind of thought, फिर कौन सा option correct है? कभी-कभी होता ना, वो clarity of thought में this mind takes time to reach that clarity. But according to me, there is no other way. So once you have read the paragraph, you will not even care to check what are the options. You will say this says something, but it is not undermining the theory. It is not even talking about the full theory, right? So you will say okay, I'm not going to choose this option. Then he said second option, internal descent was long offered as a theory for the disappearance of the Mayan. Okay, see somebody who has read about the Mayan was another civilization in South America. But in this recent year, there is near unanimous agreement that the disappearance was most likely caused by the meteorological phenomena. So now, see here what will happen. See here where the practice comes into, why the practice is more important for CSET examinations. What will happen? Let's say you say, okay, this is correct. See, because the author said internal descent, right, was long offered as a theory for the disappearance of the Mayan. But in recent years, there is an unanimous agreement that it was, this disappearance of the civilization was caused by the meteorological phenomena. You will say yes, and it says, it's completely the story. The author, ended his story with the thought that internal descent due to lack of governance and ecological problem led to the disappearance of the civilization. And you are saying, this option is saying, no, it was not due to that, it was due to the meteorological phenomena. So this is undermining the theory of the author. You will say this is correct. And even if I am attempting a question like this first time, let's say 10 years from now, 10 years back, so I could have also chosen this option. But here is the problem. See, and this is not a logical problem. I will not kind of, even if you mark this option and the, this is not logical. This is not logical. It is kind of, I keep such kind of thoughts on, let's say, level 1 thought is this one. Level 2 is high. Level 3 is much higher. So this is level 1 thought. See what is happening here. The keyword is Mayan. They are talking about the Olmec civilization. And you cannot presume, see, mind has to, you have to choose an option only on the basis of the message that the author has conveyed. Author has talked about only Olmec civilization. He has nowhere discussed. Now you will say, okay, what happened in Olmec civilization should also happen in mine. See, that is in your logic, which is no, and that logic is correct, no doubt. But this logic is, we have to answer this question on the basis of this paragraph. So be cautious of such kind of things, right? Now let's see other options. कैसे होगा? Okay, yeah. Okay, now the third option is the Olmec is split into two groups that worked persistently for several decades before both succumbed to meteorological change that made settlement of the area virtually impossible. So here they have not talked about directly, descent. See what they are saying. Split into two groups. Then it's like kind of your feudal, right? Feudal descent. So it into two groups. That word, they fought among themselves persistently for several decades before both succumbed to the meteorological changes. So at last, how they succumbed to the meteorological changes that made settlement of the area virtually impossible. See, here they are not saying, disappearance of the civilization. But again, the idea is same. So if I have read the paragraph carefully, this thought should come into my mind. Okay, I will hold on to this option. This looks like, it is then, because if this is correct, just saying that the war and internal descent was the main reason for the disappearance of civilization, no, that's a problem. Third option, the Olmec civilization, the Olmec leadership successfully relocate settlement near one of the new tributaries of Kodza. See, now even, see, again observe, I am not even caring to read what this word is. How it is, see, it is running in my mind. The same way you have to, your mind has to function in examination. See, suppose if you try to read this word, it will take your mental energy. That is not important. You have to see, okay, visualize it like a quote only. That's, there is a river and a quote. Yet years of constant flooding precluded the growth of. So, see here, they are saying they relocated settlement near one of the new tributaries of this river. So again, here also what is happening, the thought is not, this particular paragraph or this idea is not nowhere related to the last message which the author conveyed, that descent and disappearance of the relation. They are just talking about about the river changing course. So I will take the C. Okay. So now see, we have invested some time, but I want you, whosoever are attempting CSAT from our examination, your mind has to function this way. If you can train your mind this way in the, see, not only forget CSAT, this kind of training your mind in this way also help in other examination. Other examination means other papers, GS1, GS2. See, सब कुछ आपको इसी mind से निकलना है ना. Let's say somebody says I have to write an essay in UPSC. If the mind is not working at a higher frequency, how somebody will write a better essay? So training of mind is very, very important, and how the training of mind happens? Only through hard work. Okay. Now, let's say the next part. On the basis of passage given above, the following assumptions have been made. Now, let me see what assumption they are talking about. I will just read. The crops displaced by the flooding of this river would not be viable if replanted in areas unaffected by flooding. Okay. See, now what the question is, author said something, right? But author did not explain that. If he is not explaining that he assumed something. And you have to say which of these things, which of the three options is correct here. So you said, okay, the crops are displaced by the flooding of the river. Okay. So what happened? There was a flooding of the river and would not be viable if planted in areas unaffected by. So what indirectly they are trying to say, that resettlement was not an option for author. Although he talked about resettlement, right? See, where he talked about. This sea river, the main river passing through could have made notable tributary diverted as a result of climate change, leading not only to severe flooding in certain areas, but also to less of sufficient water for subsistence crops planted near the erstwhile alluvial plain. Okay. See what he is saying. Such a view, however, fails to account for the resilience of the people. So he knows all this thing already. Author knows, because if you say that river changed the course, but author is writing, such a view, however, fails to account for the resilience of the people capable of transferring crops and moving settlement at needs to be. So author is saying, let's say the river changed the course, right? And there's a flooding. So what happened? Let's say this river is there, it changed the course, there's a flooding in this area, but why the people cannot come to this area to grow the crops and all those things? So the author is already making that view. That such a view, however, fails to account for the resilience of the people capable of transferring crops and making settlement. Okay. So he already acknowledges this thing. So, but what they are talking about here, the crops displaced by the flooding of the river would not be viable if replanted in areas unaffected by. So, see, okay, it is like mathematics. See, this is a very, very important point. Just hold on. Don't be in a hurry. If you can understand this, what the author is trying to say. See, author is not, he is not completely refuting this thing. But here the matter is assumption. The question is asking assumption. If you have understood this paragraph, what the author is acknowledging, that even if the river has changed the course and there is a flooding, Such view, however, fails to account for the resilience of people capable of transferring crops. Author is acknowledging, author knows that people can transfer, people can go to another area, right? So, and what this option is saying, the crops displaced by the flooding of the sea river would not be viable if replanted in areas unaffected by flooding. So, see, how to bring your mind, in that way, with that thought. It is, suppose the question was like this, which of the correct or incorrect? Then this question would have been made some sense. But here the question is entirely different. The question is talking about the assumption. What assumption author has made. So this, I will say, this option is in fact not at all related to assumption. This option is, something conveying what the, related to whether this is correct or incorrect, what the author has said. So this should not be in your picture at all. So now the second option is adapting crop subsistence involves some level of central governance. Now can you get to that point where okay, see, do this exercise, where this assumption is made. See the last line, without the central governance needed to adapt crop subsistence pattern, the Olmec village became a collection of feuding clans within a few generations, all were adapted. See, if you have read this paragraph only, you will immediately say, okay, this, because crop subsistence involves some level of central governance, right? Feuding clans are not capable of sustaining a viable population in the wake of ecological catastrophe. That's correct, here in the second last line, they talked about. See, now in your mind, this thing, somebody might, say, okay, the first option was incorrect, so why do not mark C directly and move ahead? In examination scenario, you will do that. In examination scenario, you have to do that. But see, while you practice, you have to prepare your mind, right? There is just, saying that you have to prepare yourself before a battle, right? So if you are preparing yourself for battle, then no. Then I will not recommend you to, okay, just mark A. If A is correct, no. See, the real training, the real, changes in your mind are happening when you think why 2 and 3 are also options. So this is my recommendation, that while preparing, you please hold on. So I discussed one question in very, very, I invested, almost 20 minutes in this. See why I did that. You have to, whenever you prepare, let's say, in fact, it is not necessary, to write 15, 20 tests of CSAT. No. Even in 5 tests, if you can train your mind, you can practice those 5 important, 5 papers very thoroughly. Somebody can explain them. That is also fine. So please do this kind of work. Now I will pick up a little bit of speed. Now let's say I'm reading this paragraph. Once American men returned from the World War II battlefield, they quickly displaced the women who had temporarily filled jobs otherwise reserved for women. With many women reverting to the domestic role, the dramatic increase in the birth rate is perhaps not surprising. Here again, see what you will say, what the author is trying to say. See, the most important line in this is birth rate. See what happened. He started with a story that American returned from the World War II. Then they quickly displaced the women who were temporary. You will say, okay, American veterans came, then they displaced the women who were working in the job. With women reverting to their domestic role, the dramatic increase in the birth rate is perhaps not too surprising. Okay. Yet, see, this is the quality of paragraph. Yet some factor alone cannot explain the increase in the number of births from, see, this is talking about the after World War II, right? Then they involved an writer, another writer. Okay. Murray suggests that both women's and man's perspective changed mostly because of America's success in the war, leading to rapid population growth. However, this position ignores the many middle and lower middle class women who continued. See, again, keyword however. See, if you can understand those keywords, adjoiners. So आप इंग्लिश में सी मैथ्स में है ठीक है. Okay, to tell you one more thing, how generally mind works when you prepare for aptitude examination. In maths, you can do questions. Let's say in even how many topics. If you classify CSET syllabus, it is hardly 14-15 topics, right? Within that, you can understand that. Let's say some part is geometry, number theory, right? A little bit of algebra, okay. But in English, how your mind will grow? One way is, reading. When you read a lot, you practice a question. One thing, let's say somebody had a habit of reading. See, reading is again two types. One reading is abstruse reading, right? Let's say abstruse reading. Let's say somebody is reading a very difficult text. Let's say if somebody can read a book like Hegel's The Phenomenology of Mind, it is no more required, read for CSET and any other examination. But this is a very, very difficult book. Even if you are able to read, let's say, 10 pages per day, you should feel yourself very, very lucky. So if you can bring your mind to that thought level, so you will find, many paragraphs which are asked in aptitude exam. But you cannot do that. So another way that some people follow abstruse reading. Another is like, let's say, that is a quality reading. Even the text is not so abstruse, but you can put some force, that practice, reading it many, many times. So that is another way. So when you do the second part, both approaches are correct. In second part, you have to focus on such logics. Where are adjoiners, when the thoughts of the writer change, what logic he is trying to convey. See, according to me, that skill is more important than trying to identify which option is correct or learning some trick. No. That will not take you very far. Let's say even if you qualify examination, right, UPSC, after that you join services, what will happen? How you have to read, difficult reports, lengthy reports. Maybe, let's say the economic survey, you are reading. There is a regression equation or some graph. So during reading those graphs, all these skills will come very, very handy. So prepare your mind, train your mind accordingly. So what the author is saying? Author is saying, however, this position ignores the many middle and lower middle class women who continued working in factory and who contribute to the dramatic surge in population. So what they are saying, in this group, middle and lower middle class women, there was a dramatic surge in population. Regarding this subset, the more plausible view is that couples were more likely to conceive based on the fact that they considered themselves part of the dual income household. If necessary, the woman of the home could work. See, now what is the thought? Let's say, what are the options we will read later? What the author said, okay, the soldiers were there in the war, they came back, women were working in USA, but as the soldiers came back, they displaced the women. So this led to the increase of the population in household. So people thought, the population is changing because the perspective of the both man and woman is changing. And then they said, okay, however, this position ignores the one particular group, right? Middle and middle class women, they could afford more children because now they became part of the dual income household. Both man and woman could go work. So they thought, okay, now both of us can work. We have money and we can raise more children, right? So here different psychology is coming into picture. Once you have understood this, let's see, what the question is. The passage implied that the main shortcoming in Murray's view is that it ignores the role played in dual income, role women played in dual income. See, how my mind is working. Why I circled the woman, not dual income households. You have to see, because it happened very naturally. See, first time I read this paragraph, you have to think, okay, why it happened in my mind. If you understand this thing, You will also understand, why it should happen in your mind also one day. Because when I was reading that paragraph, I underlined that middle and after however. So I'm not aware what the question is, but I know that this thought that whenever however or adjoiner is used, there is some message is conveyed. So this logic, this logic is deeply embedded in my mind. So I thought they talked about the middle level. What is that? Middle and lower middle class women. Okay. So the moment I said, okay, they ignored the role of this particular section, not all women. So that's why, many people might mark it correct. Those who will not differentiate between women and middle level women. But if you've read that paragraph carefully, if you've gone through text like this many times, you will immediately catch the trap here. Fails to account for a particular segment of society. See, here they are not talking about women, but a particular segment of the society. I will say, okay, now, this is, I will not mark it, but I will say, okay. That relies too much on people's perception of their wealth. They are refuting this. Exactly, the paragraph is refuting this. They said, overemphasizes women who continued working in factories. See, again, this is again a latent thought. What they are saying, overemphasizes women who continued working in factories. Why only factories? Double income group, they can not only factories, but they can work anywhere, right? So this is what you have to understand. See, if your thought is very, very clear, you will mark B. Okay, let's see another question. See, now I have given you some idea how these questions are understood. Now let us go little forward to tell you the answer for fourth. I think you have that answer sheet, right? Fourth answer is B, and fifth answer is 2. There is a wonderful passage for Chaplin. Okay, here also one important logic has been discussed. Let us take this paragraph now. Chopin the pianist had been greatly overshadowed by the Chopin the composer. See, they're the same person. He was a pianist as well, he was a composer as well. If you are reading such paragraph for the first time, you might think, okay, this Chopin was a different person, this Chopin is a different person. So such thoughts come naturally in your mind. But see, why this thought did not come to my mind? Why? Practice only, right? Because I know this is the writing style of author. See, you have to familiarize yourself with the writing. I know many writers start, with this kind of writing style. The same person, two attributes they will discuss. So it is just a matter of practice. When Chopin the pianist is mentioned, it is his dreamy gait and supple wrist, as well as countless female admirers. Okay. Around the piano, returning that same dreamy stare, but Chopin was a formidable pianist in his own right. So what the author is saying, he is known more as a composer, and many women were admiring him, but he was also a formidable pianist in his own right. After all, he was able to play from start to finish all 24 his etudes. Right? See, what is the main? See, okay. Another important thing. Let's say I am reading this word first time. It is a French word. How to pronounce it? All those are, I do not consider it, very important thought. Initially, when you read English, things like that, okay, how to pronounce this word? What is the spelling of this word? From this, see, all these thoughts happen at a very, I will say, level 1 again. When you reach level 2, level 3, you will not even care about, okay, how to pronounce this word, what is the spelling. You will directly hit to the logic. You will say, okay, all 24 of his etude, then see, it is the duty of the good writer. He also knows, okay, this word is not very famous, then he is trying to explain it. a set of pieces so demanding that even today's great pianists feel text after performing them. So what is etudes? It is just a set of pieces. See, this is the good writing style. See, what is a good writing style? Initially somebody writes, they want to convey some message. That is the purpose of writing. So somebody, try to put some very difficult grammatical, words, which sounds heavy. But as a writer, the mind of a writer refines. He can convey the complex thoughts in a very simple manner. So according to me, as far as I understand the passages, this writer is also at level 2. This writer is also level 2. There are some writers which, writes at level 3. But again, this is a fantastic paragraph. At least he is conveying the meaning of this. Logically, this paragraph is very, very sound. Okay, this paragraph is, logically, and what the logic? Logic is in the last line. So demanding that even today the great pianists feel text after performing that. Two things could account for this oversight. For one, any pianist for whom no extant recording exists is likely not to be weathered time well. Okay, that's important, right? If there is suppose there is a writer, if there are no books written by him exist today, who will remember him? The same thing is happening here. Any pianist for whom no extant recording exists, it is likely not to weather time. Weather time well means see, with time memory is faded, right? So who will remember if there is no recording? Similarly, Chopin's now this word. Okay. See, what happens in examination scenario, difficult words and all those things, that takes away mental energy. I'm not even worried about. Although I know the meaning of this word, what is, coeval. Coeval means contemporary, friend, same age group. But I'm not worried about, because I know if my understanding is fine, my logic is fine, this word is not going to distract me to, solve the question. So first thing he talked about two things. First thing he said that if there is no extant recording, things will not work. In the second part, he's saying, what the second part? Secondly, Chopin's coeval and frange list, okay, was of such legendary prowess that Chopin himself wished that he could play his own etudes the way listed. Nevertheless, Chopin deserved to be remembered not just as a composer of challenging pieces, but as a pianist capable of executing with the panache these very pieces. So before going into question, just think what he said, that there is a pianist and composer, Chopin, who is remembered more as a composer than as a pianist. And then he said, okay, then he said that, but he deserved to be remembered as a formidable pianist. And why? Because he could play all his 24 etudes. Then he gives two reasons. Two things could account for this oversight. Oversight means why people are not remembering as a pianist. One, because there is no extant, there is no existence of his extant recording. And second thing, there was a wonderful pianist there. See, this happens. Let's say there are many writers who were wonderful, but somebody exists, during his time, some more capable writer exists. So people forget it. Let's say I've given an analogy. When you go to Agra fort is a wonderful fort, right? My understanding is that the architect of Agra fort is even of a higher nuances than, let's say, Red Fort or many other forts of country. But the Taj Mahal is there, right? So everybody is going to Taj Mahal. So Agra fort is not so much admired. So same logic is working here. So now, if you have understood this, and then last line he said that Chopin deserved to be remembered not just as a composer of challenging pieces, but as a pianist capable of executing with panache these very pieces. Now, if you have understood this, the question will come naturally. Which of the following, if true, would cast the most doubt on the author's contention regarding the Chopin the pianist? Okay, let's say author is trying to say, what the author is trying to say, okay, Chopin was not remembered as a pianist mainly due to two things. One is the extant recording are not existing, or second, Leah's list, he was a wonderful pianist. That is the true reason. But now he is saying if true would cast them doubt on the author's contention. So author ki contention were mainly two. So if there is something So now the logic, I believe the logic is fine in your mind. Apart from a cello concerto and a few other work, Chopin composed mainly for the piano. Let's say, now again, see, in your mind question is clear, right? The question is, if one of these statement is true, it will cast most doubt on the author's contention regarding, so this, if it is true, whether it will cast doubt on the author's contention that Chopin was a great pianist. So what this is saying, apart from a cello concerto and a few other works, Chopin composed mainly for the piano. See, how, how it is undermining. The moment you read it, it is not, I would not say that exactly it is favoring as well, but I think you got the point. How it is undermining. What they are saying, apart from cello concerto, this is, even if you do not understand this meaning, no problem. You will say, okay, apart from this thing and a few other works, Chopin composed mainly for the piano. Okay, so see, the most important keyword is here again, composed. See, author is in fact, denying this thing. Author said he is known more as a composer. And the statement is saying that Chopin composed mainly for the piano. So, in fact, it is not casting doubt. It is, in fact, favoring. Then second point, Chopin seldom performed his etudes in concerts, preferring to play in front of a, okay. See, his two contentions were recording, and so what he's saying, seldom performed in concerts, preferring to play in front of a small group. That is fine. See, if you are playing in front of a small group, one thing is, okay, not too many people will remember you. That is fine. But again, see, the most important point, contention has to be regarding to recording. If there is anything, see, if you are playing in a small group, then also you can record it, right? Your focus has to be, recording and his contemporary list. So either you have to assume that if you are playing in front of a small group, you cannot record. Otherwise, this cannot also be your option. Right? See, I'm trying to take you to the the logic. If you can go to into the details and do some papers thoroughly, you will understand not only the crux of Csat, maybe other aptitude examination. Okay, now the next part is, not all of Chopin's composition are as difficult to execute as his etudes. Now this is, see, the language is, I will say, see, here I will not say it is a difficult English. No, it is not difficult. All the, see, if you try to see in the dictionary, not all Chopin's composition, every word you find in your mind. But this is little complexly written statement. What they are saying, not all. See, this is when you read mathematical logic, right? There words are used like this. Not all of Chopin's composition are as difficult to execute as his etudes. And what the Chopin did, Chopin, executed the etudes, right? He wrote something and he played, he had 24 etudes and he played on the piano all these things. So, what can you relate? Let us assume this is true. So his etudes were more difficult. So his etudes were more difficult, and he executed, his etudes. So why it is going to, why it is going to cast doubt on the, in fact, it will kind of a favor, because indirectly it is saying that other compositions were not as difficult as the etudes, and he already played all his 24 etudes. So why it is going to cast doubt on that? Let's see the next part. Chopin himself acknowledged that he was primarily a composer, okay, and would have composed even more difficult pieces had he the ability to play them. Now this is the fine, right? Now Chopin himself is acknowledging that he was primarily a composer and would have composed even more difficult pieces had he the ability to play them. So, whatever he could play, so see, this is how in fact, this is not the correct option. This is also the mind of a composer and pianist will work. Let's say, see, in Bollywood industry, somebody writes music and write. This is, even in classical music, what happens? See, the song and, see, let's say somebody writes a play, okay. In that play, you will find many people, let's say, puts some song, right? So and then it is played in a theater. So can you see how the mind is working? From the mind of the composer, that poem or some song came, he's putting in a play, and then this thing is being played in theater. So same thing is happening here. And it is happening in the same mind. He's writing composition and he's playing them on piano. So what this option is saying, Chopin himself acknowledged that he was primarily a composer and would have composed even more difficult pieces, that he could have gone even on a higher level, higher intellectual level of composing, had he had the ability to play them. So Chopin himself is casting doubt on his ability to play piano. So that's a wonderful. So this is what you have to understand. Now let's see. Okay, see, this question is very easy. These two questions. My idea is to take more difficult question. Now, what they say, the mixture contains alcohol water in the ratio of 5:3. So, how much water must be added to 10 liters of mixture to make the ratio? See, if in quantitative part, okay, if in the quantitative part, if you write equation too much, then it is going to create trouble. Let's say how your mind will work. The alcohol and water in the ratio of 5:2. Okay, and the mixture is 10 liter. How much water must be added to 10 liters of the mixture to make the ratio of the, okay. So in 10 liter of mixture, so what is first happening? This is, and 2/7. Do you understand this part? This is alcohol and this is water, right? Now this is 50/7, this is 20/7. Now the question is, how much of the water, the keyword is water, must be added to this mixture to make the ratio 5:3. So you are going to add some water here, right? And to see what I acknowledge that when you see the option, let's say you add something. So it is now 50/7 divided by 20/7 plus something. This has to be 5/3. When you solve it, you get 10/7, right? Let's say if this W is 10/7, the 7 when we cut and the ratio will become 5/3. So this W has to be, the water has to be about to be added, it has to be 10/7. I understand there is no option in that here, but the correct answer is 10/7. So now see, this is very simple question. In this correct the question mark. Here you have to identify patterns. So okay, what is happening? See, in examination, how am I will, okay, I will keep my eyes on this. Okay, what is happening here? It has gone to opposite side. Okay, then in the third, what has happened? It has gone to down. Okay, then it has gone up. So what will happen again? Again the pattern will repeat. It will come here. So what should happen? My answer should be correct from this or that, right? Then accordingly I will see for the other one, and I believe the correct answer is C. Right, this is your correct answer. Just identify the pattern. This is not a very difficult question. We are moving to the more difficult. Okay, Now see this question. See, here, solving this question is very, very easy. What is more important is, try to understand this pattern. Let's say, I have a, my parameter is fixed. Let's say, I have a square, right? 5 into 5 into 5 into 5. So, इसका area हो गया 25. Let's say, if I convert it into a rectangle, let's say 8, 16, 2, still my parameter is 20, right? Here also parameter, but my area is 16. So if you understood this logic, what is the logic? That if keeping the parameter constant, your A square contains the maximum area. See, on this logic, not only, you will find, see, this logic is more important. This logic is more important than even solving this question. If you understand this concept that keeping the area constant, keeping the parameter constant, you have the maximum area under a square. And whatever, let's say, आपको इस तरह visualize कर सकते हो. Let's say 9 into 9 will always be more than 8 into 10. Why? Because the sum of digits is here also 18, here also 18, 909, but because this square is 81 and this is 80, right? So if you take, let's say another example, if you make it 7 and 11, so it will reduce further. So this logic is more important. Once you have understood this, the cost of fencing, what did it say? The cost of fencing a plot is 400 meter per feet along one side and 200 feet along the three other side. If the area of the rectangular plot is this. See, if the area of the rectangle, see, okay, in examination scenario, what I will do, if I keep on taking it, see, the quantitative skills also come handy. I will immediately take it square root. I will say, okay, last two 0, 0, 0, 6 का square root कितना होता है? 2.4. Okay, 2.4. So I will say this will be somewhere around 248, right? See, there are many ways of solving this question. I think in solution you have different ways, but how your mind can also work. You will say, okay, 248 is my, see, now I have to take the lowest possible cost of fencing. When the lowest cost of fencing would be when my sides are like this, square. So what I will do, this is my one side, around, let's say I will keep it 250. So I know 250 into 400 one side and 250 into other side is how much? 200 rupees, right? And the remaining side is 3, right? When you multiply this, I think the correct answer is this. Okay, यही answer है. आप देख लेना. See, I'm not going into that multiplication. Logic is this. See, and most important logic is this. Understanding this part. If you can understand this part, you will solve at least 2-3 questions in CSAT without even touching your pen and paper. See, इसमें इतना भी तो मैंने explanation करने के लिए बनाया, right? The correct answer is only this. And how I read this? Simple. कुछ भी नहीं करना है. उसको यदि question बना के solve करने लगे तो it will be clear. Okay. Now let's move to the next part. I will skip the easy question. See, this question is. If I'm in an examination scenario, see, in test I will practice such questions. But in examination scenario, I will try to do such questions at a very later stage. What is happening here? See, I will classify this question either very easy or very difficult. Because this is a, very quantitative, a lot of calculations are involved. Logically, बहुत tough नहीं है. So what they are saying, what is the average amount of interest per year had to pay during this period? Interest on loan, right? You have to take the interest. Okay, now I will tell you how your mind is. Let's say one way of calculating is 4, 4, 6, 6. No. That is going to be suicidal. In example scenario, how your mind should work? Okay, I will say 50. 86, right? 86. See, I always add in two, right? So in my mind it will come 73, okay, then 24. So see, try to train your mind in such a way that you see it is very difficult to add 2 plus 7. You will say 9. But can your mind think very spontaneously when you add, let's say, 22 plus 27? See, 2 plus 7, 9 is, because you have done this thing many, many times. So it will come spontaneously. But if with the same intensity and force, you can say it is 39. With the same, without even thinking. So that happens with practice. So if you can bring your mind into 2-digit addition, then you will immediately solve this question. Otherwise, the part of this question, they are a little bit calculative. And it is very simple. It is not difficult, but it will take time. So I assume you will do that. Now, let's see this question. Okay, now this is, I assume this is the, this is a wonderful, wonderful question. In fact, this is the most logical question I found in this paper. And if you can think, if you can solve this question even without touching pen and paper, that would be wonderful. What it says, a teacher, see, ek to tarika hai main use form, equation, probability, no. But this question you can solve even without touching pen and paper. What it says, a teacher decides to distribute 2,000 between two students, X and Y. He does not want to equally distribute the amount, so he decides to distribute, arbitrarily break 2,000 into two parts and give X the bigger part. What is the chance that X gets twice as much as Y? So X is getting how much? 2 and 1, right? This is Y is getting, this is getting X. Okay. Now, इसका chance वो पूछ रहा है कि यानी, okay, what is the situation? 2,000, right? 2,000 has to be distributed between X and Y. So what will happen? Let's say he's breaking, arbitrarily. He's breaking. So what will happen? X will be greater than Y. See, आप किस तरह डिवाइड? ये तो 1,000 equally decide करना, ये तो बहुत कम होगा, right? So arbitrarily when you will decide it, so 50% times what will happen? Your X will be greater than Y, and 50% time your Y will be greater than X. See, listen this carefully. But it is very simple, right? If मेरे पास 2,000 लंबी स्टिक है, मैं उसको arbitrarily break करता हूँ two parts में X and Y, then what will happen? X will be greater than Y 50% of times, and Y will be greater than X. I should put this thing 50% times. So this thing you have understood. So this is the probability of this is half. Now what they are saying? What is the chance of X getting twice? So your full sample space, I do not want to use the text, but see, and try to understand this thought. If you understand this thought, it will be wonderful. So let's say I say in week there are seven days. And what is the chance today is Monday? So what you do, you say, okay, there are 7 days and they are talking about the 1 day, so chance is 1 by 7. It happens for Tuesday every day. So here what is happening, you had that stick, right? 2,000 rupees, you had that 2,000 rupees. उसमें आपके दो पार्ट थे, either X is greater than Y and Y is greater than X. But he's only worried about X, when the X is greater than Y. So he decides into two parts and give X the bigger part. So out of 100, this teacher is only worried about this thing. So you will say he is only worried about half. And out of this half, what he is looking for? When this X get twice, इसका probability क्या है? आप बताइए. Will you write it? Let's say 2 by 3. क्या लिखोगे आप? 1 by 3. 1 by 3. See, इसको visualize करो. In this denominator, X is getting twice. Generally क्या होगा? Both X and Y will get equally, right? But X is getting twice of Y. So although X is getting twice of Y, but इसका probability क्या हो जाएगा? इसका probability तो 130 हो जाएगा ना? Let's say there is 100 rupees. 100 rupees आपको दो लोगों में distribute करना है. तो दोनों को equal मिले, यानी 50-50 मिले, इसका probability high है, right? But let's say somebody get 75 rupees, दूसरे को 25. तो इसको मिल तो ज़्यादा रहा है, लेकिन इसको ज़्यादा मिलने का प्रोबेबिलिटी, एक्स को ज़्यादा मिलने का प्रोबेबिलिटी कम होता जाएगा, राइट? तो दैट्स वाई दिस हैज़ टू बी 1/3 and this is 1/3. See, if you can understand this logic, you will mark it 2/3 and without touching pen and paper. And see, this is the way you have to train your mind. So let's move into the next part. This is very simple question, 75 pages. You just have to do the counting part. Okay. Question number 16 is also important. See, I think that you will do. Okay, let me do this question. This is also a funny, good question. But see, even if you do not know the probability formula, then also you can do it. So there are 6 persons arranged in a row. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So that another person has to shake hands with 3 of them so that he does not shake hands with 2 consecutive persons. That is the condition. In how many distinct possible combination can this be? See, एक तरीका है तो okay, you do see, एक simple counting भी होता है. You can also do, solve this question that way. So he has to shake hand with 3 people. So I am trying to make combination. एक combination ये हो गया, ठीक है? 3 लोगों से हो गया, ठीक है? Consecutive नहीं हुआ है, एक के बाद 3 पे और 5 पे, ठीक है? Let's make another combination. 1, 3, 6, ठीक है? Only 3 लोग. There are 2 conditions. He has to shake hand with 3 people. Then another condition. Let's say he can shake hand with. Can he start 2, 4, and 6? Yes, this is also possible, right? 2, 4, and 6. If there are 3 distincts, ये हो गया. उसके अलावा any other? 1 to 4, 1 to 4, and 1 to 6. This is also possible, right? 1 to 4 and 4 to 6. इसके अलावा और कोई combination possible है? To shake hand? You will see there is no other combination possible. So this is the logic is same. You can also solve it with mathematics, but sometimes the simple thoughts. I think in solution you have different method, but try to keep things like this also in your mind. Now, let me take a more difficult question. This is very simple, right? You will understand it. This is simple, what is happening here. Chocolate bar is X rupees and the price of lollipop X plus Y. Here you have to make equation. If you have 4 chocolates, 4 chocolate bar and 3 lollipop for rupees 20, and Bob bought 2 chocolates bar plus 5 lollipop for rupees 25. Which of the following statement is correct? So see, you will just solve these 2 equations, right? इसको 2 से multiply कीजिए, this will become 4x plus 10y is equal to 50. See, even in examination what you will do? इसको वहाँ पे exam में 2 से वो mental करना होता है. So this will become 4x, this will become 10y, this will become 50, right? So directly you will become, you will write, okay, 10 minus 7y is equal to 50 minus 2, 30. This will be, यहाँ से आपको equation मिल जाएगा, then you will eliminate it. See, this thought process is more important than what is the, option. If you can do this thing in your mind in 15 seconds there, then you will save a hell lot of time. Okay. This is fine. Here, what you have to make the equation. R is scored 60% mark. How much R is scored? 60 marks more than S. 60 marks more than S. If S is scored, and what the S is scored? If S is scored 20% marks less than R. So S itself is what? 8% of 60 plus X. S, right? So just put this thing there. See, now again वो इसको quadratic equation ही बनाना है वहाँ पे multiply करके. Then you have to go into the option way. So this is the way your mind has to work. And I am assuming this is simple. This paragraph is not so enthusiastic. It's a answer देख लीजिएगा. But there is a wonderful question in this paper. I want to discuss with you that because if you can solve that question, I'm sure yeah, then UPSC में आप in fact in CSET आप कोई भी कर लोगे. Okay. ये simple paragraph है. Algorithm. Okay, let me see quickly this one, so that the use of algorithm in decision making has become increasingly common in various fields, including finance, healthcare, and criminal justice. While algorithm can make decisions more quickly and efficiently than human, they are concerned about their potential biases and lack of transparency. Additionally, the use of algorithm can lead to unintended. Okay, see, the moment, see why my speed is, the moment I read word additionally, I know that now the thing is about to come. Additionally, the use of algorithm can lead to unintended consequences such as perpetuating existing social inequalities. Okay, see, why I've underlined this, I know this is government examination, this is UPSC examination. They are very, very concerned about, social thing. So, immediately I underline this. The algorithm, as algorithm continue to become more sophisticated, it is important to ensure that they are used ethically and that the potential biases are acknowledged and addressed, which can be inferred from the passage. They are talking about the inference. See, algorithm is always more accurate and fair than human decision making. Then ये तो आप refute कर सकते हो, right? They are talking, they are not very happy with this. They are maintaining social equalities. So not maintaining social equalities. The use of algorithm in decision making has no impact. See, इस question में क्या ना option बहुत easy है. Paragraph is fine, right? But the options are very easy, so you can immediately eliminate. The last option is, you will say the use of algorithm decision making requires ethical consideration. Okay, so this is what it is. Now let me go to the most important and just a minute. These are simple, right? I think once you have the kind of discussion we did, here also, okay, this is simply you have to make the grid. Okay, let me take this. It's very simple question, right? क्या है इसमें? What it says, see, the moment, what I want to say, how your mind has to work there. Okay, I saw there are 4 people, Pranav, A, Amit, Hari. So in examination, I am not going to write Pranav, Amit, no. I will write simple P, A, H, L. And it is already embedded in my mind that whenever I see a question like this, I have to make a matrix. Then I know they are talking about some games, right? Then Pranav and Amit play rugby. Okay, I know there is one game, rugby, just rugby and football. Then they talk about Amit and Hari play football and hockey. Okay, there is another game, hockey. Then they talk about basketball. Okay. Then I will immediately see there is no need to draw the lines and see all these unnecessary things take away your mind, time and energy. What do you say? Pranav and Amit play rugby and football. Pranav and Amit rugby and football. Okay, I marked it. Amit and Hari play football and hockey. Amit and Hari play football and football. Okay, I've just marked the Pranav and Amit के लिए mark नहीं किया ना. तो ये Amit, Pranav and Amit. Then Amit and Hari. Amit and Hari play football and hockey. Football and Amit already play football, तो hockey पे ही mark हो जाएगा. And Hari play football and hockey. Hari play football and hockey. Okay, this is reading these two sentences. Third sentence, Pranav and Lucky play basketball and rugby. So Pranav, rugby is already there, basketball is also there, right? So this is right. And then Lucky also play basketball and rugby. Lucky also played basketball and rugby. Lucky play basket. Last में Hari and Lucky play. Hari is here. Play hockey. Hari hockey is already there and basketball. So Hari is also basketball and Lucky played hockey and basketball. So hockey and basketball already there. Okay. See, once you made this grid, right? Then after these three, we does not play hockey. कौन हॉकी नहीं खेलता है? हॉकी आप देखो, आपको आपका कंप्लीट है ना, वहीं पे सामने दिख रहा है. Print does not play, right? Similarly, the other three parts are there. You will do it. See, what is the takeaway here in this session? You have to train your mind. Although this question is not difficult, it is CSET. This is a question like what CSET is asking. Let's say even if you want to, there are many different grids at the. Let's say when you do Csat question and Z questions. Compared to that, it is very easy. But you have to condition your mind. Okay, whenever I see question like this, I have to approach this way. Fine. Now, I'm assuming you got the logic and you will solve the other two parts as well. But let's go to the more. This is a very simple question, right? Oranges and now, okay, I want to show you the calculation in this part. See what is happening here. This question also you can solve without using pen and paper. They are talking about the average height of boy is 5 feet 8 inches. Average height of girl is 5 feet 4 inches. The ratio of the number of boys to girls is 3:5. Right? Then what is the average height of the whole class? See, एक तो तरीका ये कि 5 into 8 को 3 से multiply करो, 5 को multiply. No. That is going to be suicidal. उसमें ना time चला जाएगा. You know, okay, if this is the ratio, they are talking about the average height. So what you will say, okay. 5 और 5 है दोनों का, 3, तो 5 तो आपका कॉमन आ गया, राइट? चाहे बॉयज का हो चाहे गर्ल्स का हो. देन बॉयज का जो 8 इंच है वो है 3. सो यू 8 इंच इंटू 3, राइट? और गर्ल्स का 4 इंच है वो 5, राइट? क्योंकि उनका रेशियो कितना है? 5 है. ओके, सो एंड यू विल मल्टीप्लाई दिस थिंग बाई 8. ओके, बस इतना करना है. इफ यू कैन थिंक लाइक दिस, सो यू विल मार्क दिस पार्ट. सो see, these questions are, elementary question. How many times, I think you know this question, right? इसमें क्या logic होता है? The hour hand, there are two hands, right? Hour hand and minute hand, right? Hour hand travels how much? Minute hand covers, there are 12 divisions, right? There are 12 divisions. So 360 divided by 12 is 30 degree, right? In 1 hour, minute hand will cover 30 degree. Okay, but hour hand will cover only half degree. Okay, so the relative speed is always 11/2. Because you have to identify between 4 and 5 how many times they will where it will coincide. You take the speed of the minute hand, you take the speed of the hand, hour hand, the speed is 11/2, 11/2 or 11/5, whatever it is, I've forgotten. But again, these are the basic questions. Let me see, just a minute. What is how much it comes? 11/2, right? 11/2, that is the relative speed, and how it comes in 1 minute. Our hand moves a half degree, and it will move how much? In 5 minutes, it will move 6 degree in 1 minute. It moves around 6 degree in 1 minute. So 6 degree minus half degree. So 6 minus half will be 11/2. So you got this. See, these are the set questions. एक बार आपने practice कर लिया, इस तरह के question हो जाते हैं. Challenges come, that the question we discussed about the probability, that Chaplin question, those are more, more difficult questions. So once your mind is trained to, okay, हमें relative speed लेना है 11/2 से, तो वो सब question हो जाता है. ये question भी बहुत easy है. I think इसमें कुछ है नहीं ज़्यादा. Question like this, this is a very good question, but in examination scenario, I will recommend you not to, attempt question like this. You can attempt that when at the end of because if the question is very good, it tests a very good understanding. But again, in every paper, out of 80 question, there are always 10 questions which you have to let go. Let go means, or let go or the prioritize when to do it. If you start doing those questions in beginning, it is going to be hell, suicidal, right? Time चला जाएगा. So इसमें question कुछ नहीं है इसमें ना. You have to open like third 3 into 10 plus p, 4 into 10 plus p, and p into 10 plus p, इसको digit को खोलना है, फिर उसको equation बनानी है. And but again, question can be done, but it will take time. Okay, and I would recommend to attempt such question always at the end of the paper. Okay, now this question is is wonderful. If you can solve question like this in examination, my understanding is this: you can solve any question in CSAT. This is a difficult, not only difficult, it is a wonderful paragraph. Let's see it. The effectiveness of standard clinical trial in medicine is a topic of debate. Some practitioners argue that despite limitation, clinical trial remains the best method for understanding the effect of pharmaceutical drugs on human body. Others argue that the current system is just one possibility, not the most effective way to gather knowledge. Glimley and Lab fall into the latter group and even challenge the notion that the standard medical trial can provide the valuable information on pharmaceuticals and how to drug interact. See, these generally in UPSC you get only this much paragraph. See, if you train your mind to 3 paragraphs as a continuous thought, what will happen? If you are training, let's say if you have to write a state examination, so why not to train for yourself for JEE, IIT JEE? If you are preparing for some examination, why not to prepare for UPSC, right? So that's the same way. If you prepare for UPSC, state examination will happen very easily, right? State and SSC. The same way, same analogy here. If you have to write for do CSAT examination, if you understand this paragraph, वहाँ पे बहुत आसानी से हो जाएगा. So what it said कि effectiveness of the standard clinical trial is a matter of debate. So despite their limitation, remain the best method for understanding the effect. But again, there are two person, Gilmley and Lab, they said, there is still some problem. What they said, their main critique is that a drug's effect varies depending upon the individual physiology. While there are cohorts that react to a drug in a particular way, clinical trials cannot identify these subgroupings. See, इसमें क्या होता है कि medical trials में क्या होता है? You take a population, right? उस पर drug का testing किया, you say, okay, इतने लोगों को फायदा हो रहा है, then you will say, okay, this drug is fine. But again, now they are going to statistics. What they are saying, like even if you take a population, within that population there is people of different physiology. So Gim and Lev are talking about that. While there are cohorts that react to a drug in a particular way, clinical trials cannot identify, this is the key line, cannot identify these subgroupings. This is the contention of Gimli and Labs. Clinical trial rely on the idea that larger number of subjects in a study increases a drug's validity if it shows promises. However, even if a drug has a significant effect on a subset of trial subjects, this information will be lost. See, again, lost in the statistical noise. This again is the key word of this paragraph. What is the meaning of statistical noise? Let's say after doing drug clinical trial, you said this medicine is fine, but and you do not take into account the concerns of Gim and Lab. So what you are saying, even if the people are using that drug, the drug might not be effective, due to statistical noise. The placebo effect. कि testing में भी होता है, people when this medical practitioner they follow a placebo effect. So this is the first criticism. The second criticism is that pharmaceutical company conduct hundreds of trials on numerous medication. As a result, few trials may yield positive result even if there is no demonstrable effect. In fact, most pharmaceuticals that have a positive effect in the first round of testing fail in the second round. So there are two criticisms. Then Gim and Lab suggest that identifying groups within similar genetic subtype is a more effective approach. This approach is currently used in groups with a particular molecular subtype of breast cancer, where a combination of drug is used and swept out to measure effect. Although this approach can be time-consuming and expensive, it encourages a culture of experimentation on how clinical trials are conducted, targeting subtypes in travel, even if does not yield significant advances, can be a step toward improving. See, why I read this paragraph? मैं directly any question पे जा सकता था. I want to think or condition your mind this way. If you are performing this way in examination, CSAT तो बहुत आसानी से हो जाएगा. So once you have understood, they talked about the problems related with the a standard clinical trial, then two gentlemen came into the picture, then they said, okay, there is some problem with the clinical trial, then they gave two contention. Now, what is the primary purpose of this passage? To evaluate and survey diverse opinions on the current state of a diverse opinion. Okay. See, this question is difficult. Let me, it is something, higher than said. Then, to point out an oversight in a work of, to point out an oversight in the work of two scholars. ठीक है? यानी, see, two scholars की तो बात हुई है, but are they talking about the two oversight? Okay, so do not get into the trap. To discuss a field of inquiry and several ways in which that field can be improved. Okay, the field of inquiry, to discuss a field of inquiry. Okay, several ways. Okay, are they discussed about several ways in this that field can be improved? To describe a current debate and the analysis of a specific researcher. See, now if you can do question like this, it will test your clarity of thought. See, क्या हो रहा है? इसमें ऑप्शन भी बड़े स्ट्रांग है. To evaluate and survey diverse opinions on the current state of a field. Okay, ठीक है. To point out an oversight. See, oversight in the work of two scholars. That is not the main, right? That is not the primary purpose. Primary purpose is they are talking about, what is happening in the clinical trials, why the method they are being used is being criticized by the Gambian lab, and what else could be done. So that is the primary task this is taken. So this cannot be your answer. This you can evaluate. To evaluate and survey diverse opinion. So diverse opinion. ठीक है? See, the words here are very loose. To evaluate. Evaluation की तो बात evaluate नहीं हुआ है. Right? Survey you can see. And diverse opinion. See, diverse opinion, it is not diverse opinion. It is a scientific inquiry of Gimlian lab. So this will also, if you have that understanding, this also you will eliminate. Okay, the third one you will say, to discuss a field of inquiry and several ways in which that field can be improved. See, people can catch this answer through two ways, field of inquiry and improved. My understanding is that if somebody will think about improved, so that is a higher thinking. You will say, okay, they talked about the things Gimli and Lab pointed out, but how much they talked about improvement? Improvement, I don't think, they went into, and then automatically your mind will come to D. Right? I understand this is a difficult question, but this is the way you have to think. So, assuming with the same thought process, you will do the other questions. So, let us move to the next part. See, okay. Now, these questions are easy. Let me see. What is the... See, these questions are very, very easy, right? Let me, let me take this question. This is a fine question, CSAT level. Figure shows a box which has to be completely wrapped with paper. This is the dimension, thickness 1, 4, 6. However, a single sheet of paper needs to be used without any tearing. Without any tearing, right? See, now this question involves not only your little bit of mathematical thinking, but see, यहाँ पे बहुत से लोग problem हो जाएंगे. Okay, without any tearing. So don't worry. Once you have conditioned your mind, what you will say, okay, I have to cover this, means they are talking about the surface area. You know what is the surface area? Length into breadth plus length into height plus breadth into height. You have been given the 3 dimension. क्या dimension है? So you will take 1 into 4, 1 into 6, 6 into 4, right? You will multiply that and you will get number 4 plus 6 plus 24, right? कितना हो गया? 34, 78, right? सही है? 6 4 10, 10 and 34, 68, sorry, 68, right? 68 हो गया. So that should be the area, centimeter square, whatever it is, centimeter square. That should be this is your thought. But that is the minimum required, right? But the sheet of paper has to be something larger. So you will say, okay, this is the minimum area. So, you have to be something, जब आप रैप करोगे तो थोड़ा टेयरिंग होगा ना, इसको काटोगे तब उसको रैप करोगे, तो आप होगे इससे ज़्यादा होना चाहिए. तो 68 से ऊपर देखिए, दिस इज 17 फॉर जा, ये तो एग्जैक्टली 68 है, तो ये हो सकता है, बट नो, ये तो ये थोड़ा ज़्यादा है 68 से, ओके, ये तो 68 से भी कम है, ये तो 68 से भी कम है, तो यार आंसर शुड भी, अब देख लेना क्या आंसर है, ये होना चाहिए, ओके, वट एवर इट इज, योर आंसर शुड बी दिस वन ओनली. नाउ ये सिंपल क्वेश्चन है, सी कंपाउंडिंग का द वे यू राइट, कि कोई भी नंबर है उसके फाइवर्स की कंपाउंडिंग करनी है. सो दिस इज द क्वेश्चन. लेट मी टेक ए डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चन. सी दीज आर सिंपल क्वेश्चन, इसमें इतना डिफिकल्ट नहीं है. लेट मी टेक ए डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चन सो दैट. Okay, now this is a good question, and this what is happening here? A fill the tank at the rate of 100 liter per minute, B at the rate of 25, and C at the rate of 50. Okay, and the capacity is 7 minutes. 3 pipes are kept open for 1 minute each, one after another. See, the key word is one after another. Okay, so you start pipe A, then started pipe B. So, what is happening? First pipe A run 100, then 25, then what the C did? C drains at the 50. One after, within 3 minutes, what you will get? 75, whatever your dimension. So, this is what is happening. If the tank, capacity of tank is so, how long will it take to fill the tank if A is kept open first, followed by B and C? So, in a cycle of 3 minutes, what is happening? You are getting 75, right? So, now you will think, okay, I have to multiply some number of times to reach closer to something this. So how my mind will work? Okay, I will say, can I reach directly to, let's say I take I multiply it by 100. See, now this is the logic तो आपका हो गया. अब calculation part भी important होता है. So in examination scenario, how your mind has to work? You will say, okay, if I multiplied it by 100, so I will reach 7,500, but कितने मिनट हो गए मेरे? 300 minutes हो गए. Okay, तो मुझे कितना नीचे आना है? I have to come by 500 minutes, right? No, I will reach 7,500 later, right? I have to come down by 500 liter, और 1 मिनट में यानी 75 को कितना कम करना है मुझे? You will think, okay, if I let's say 8 times if I do, so where I will reach 560, right? You will say, okay, no, 6 times, let's say I do 6 times, so 420. See, the way I am doing calculation, 420 plus 30. See, I am not adding 450. See, if you think examination 450, तो वो लगता तो जल्दी है, लेकिन it will take your lot of mental energy. Okay, you wrote 450. So how many cycles? 3 cycles. 3 cycles means 6 cycles means you will subtract 18 minutes from here, and you will reduce it by 450. So you have reached what level? 0, 50. Okay. So if you take one more, ये कितना हो गया आपका? 282, right? So correct, right? So you will take you will go one more cycle down. So then you will reach how much? 6, 9, 2, 5, and here also you will reduce how many minutes? 3 minutes. So you will reach 279. Okay, but again you are not going to get right directly. You will never get 6925. Then you will go one more cycle back So you will reduce 3 minutes, so you will do 276. 276 इसमें आप कितना माइनस करोगे? So you will reach 2875, right? 2875, then, okay. No, 2875, you will reach 6,900, okay, at this level. And after that, see, now I'm doing it in my mind, right? वहाँ पे, and then you will say, okay, one more time we have to add, and that is 100 liter, that is for 1 minute. Then you will say, click OK. So, see, what I am more interested in telling you the process. I have not done any big calculation. What I have done, I have taken a big calculation, divided it into part. If you can think that way, तो ये क्वेश्चन बहुत आपको लग रहा होगा, right? In examination scenario, let's say you have to do, I will not even write this equation. Almost 80% thing will happen in my mind. So that's the way you can think. But again, this question took some time. Okay, question like this, I will generally not even read in examination. See, it's a wonderful question. It's a difficult eye. But I know if I started solving this question, see, हो सकता है, see, इसकी मैं question बनाऊंगा, हो जाएगा. Either you have to have very high level thought clarity, in mathematical clarity, कि the moment you read, आपने option tick कर दिया, वो भी हो जाएगा. That is also possible. But that is not the purpose. Here the purpose should be to understand how quickly, I can get through that CSET part. And so I will generally avoid such question in the examination. Okay. Maybe when we will do the next section, I will show you even this question, which are so lengthy and there are many thought level, can be solved without using pen and paper, right? So that is also possible. This Plato case. Okay, this is fine. Let's read this paragraph. Plato what said? Aristocratic government ruins itself by limiting too narrowly the circle within which power is confined. Oligarchic government ruins itself by incautious clamor for immediate wealth, but even democracy ruins itself by excess of democracy. So Plato was a criticizer of democracy. So he criticized aristocratic government, then oligarchic government, then also excess of democracy. Its basic principle is the equal right of all to hold office and determine public policy. It is at first glance a delightful arrangement. It becomes disastrous because the people are not properly equipped by the education to select the best ruler and the wisest courses. The people have no understanding and only repeat what their rulers are pleased to tell them. Such a democracy is tyranny or autocracy. See, those who have read Plato, he knows, he wrote the book Republic. I believe it is a paragraph from that book only. And he said, his main contention was the philosophers should be the ruler. Because he said, whether you take democracy, oligarchy, or whatever other form, he had very little faith in the, intellect of people. And see, it is not to say that, he was disparaging them or criticize them. No, it's fine. See, one who is putting more, thought. So what he said at the end of the day, the philosophers should be the rulers. So, okay, let's see this question. What it says, what is the primary, so, but again, whatever story I told you, you do not have to assume that while answering this question. What is the primary argument that Plato makes about democracy in the passage above? And how does it relate to the limitation of an uneducated electorate? So primary argument makes about democracy in the passage above. Democracy is the best form of government, but it can become tyrannical if the people are not properly educated to make informed decisions. This is the best form. The moment I read I understood the tone of the paragraph. So it's the best form. Plato is not saying the best form of government. Somewhere it has said. Let me see. This is question number 51, right? But even democracy, okay, no, so he's not talking about the moment you understood the tone, the moment you will see the best form, you will eliminate it. Even democracy can also fail if the citizens are not equipped with the necessary knowledge to govern themselves. Okay, so he said even democracy can also fail. I will just keep this thought in mind. Education is and how does it relate to the limitations of an uneducated? There are two parts. Education is the key to ensuring that democracy functions properly, and without 8, the people are vulnerable to manipulation and the abuse of power. Okay. Okay, let's say my mind is here, but let me read the D first. Tyranny and arrogance is a democratic form of the government. So D, I am not I will say, okay, no, that is what he is not trying to convey. My mind will go into B and C. Now you please tell me, within B and C, which one I will choose. The correct answer is B. See, why correct answer is B? Because he has answered both part of the question. Even democracy can fail if the citizens are not with the necessary knowledge to govern themselves. Education is the key to ensuring, and without it, people are vulnerable to. See, the C option conveys on the only second part, but the primary argument is being conveyed in the B as well, right? So that's what the GDP option. I think that's not a problem. Let me take one more more difficult and interesting question. Just a minute, what it is. Victories. This is a good question, but you do it yourself. Let me see some difficult question. Okay, these are fine paragraphs. These paragraphs are fine. Okay, see again, question like this, the grandfather and this thing, I will take a, see, we can solve this question. This is nothing, right? It's a wonderful question. But again, as I mentioned, in every paper you have to know which question not to do. So I will take solve question like this in at the very end of question. At the once I have attended all other questions. So this is fine. This is fine. These questions are it is just notation. This is the 10th letter. This is not also very difficult question. This is simple. This is also fine. Okay, this question is good. Here some mental thinking will work. See this question. What is happening here? 63, okay, let me take 63 first, because this is, see, if you can understand such question, you will understand any question of related to such question in CSAT. The statement followed by 4 calculations, you have to take the statement to be true. See, what they are saying, all mirrors are phone. See, generally what is your thought process? You try to negate this. So you will say all mirrors are phone. It's a subset. Some phones are gadgets. Some phones are, then you will think, okay, gadgets can be, intersection of this or both P, but let me read the third line as well. All gadgets are mirror. So, in fact, your gadgets, that becomes a subset of this, right? So, because this is a statement given, you cannot refute them. Then you will go into the conclusion. Some gadgets are phone. Some gadgets are phone. What some gadget? All gadgets are phones. But here यहाँ पे problem जाती है. The keyword is some. See, if all are there, so some has to be there. So I cannot negate it. Although this conclusion is not even incorrect or not. See, correct. It is correct, but it is incompletely correct. That is the so you cannot negate it. You will say yes, this is correct, but incompletely correct. Some gadgets are mirror. Some gadgets are mirror. So again here the keyword is some. But again all gadgets are mirror, right? So this also you will say. Some gadgets are not mirror. So you will say no, it cannot be possible. Some mirrors are phone. Some mirrors are phone. No, here the okay, some mirrors are phones. Yes, some all mirrors are phone, right? So this is fine, but just see. Okay, anyway, I've given you the logical thought. What is the answer of 63? Let me see. Give me 1 second, please. Answer is B. B is 1 and 2 follow. Some mirrors are phone. Some mirrors are phone. Some mirror. All mirrors are phone, right? But anyway, see, thoda the type of, but again, the logical part is this, that you cannot negate it, because something, if you know, all gadgets are phone, then some तो होना ही होना है ना, तो उसमें कोई, you cannot negate it, right? So, but anyway, let me come to this question, which I wanted to discuss, and please, you know, if you can do question like this, you will do, you know, you will find very, very comfortable. The average age of the 10 student is 15 years. Let's say they are 10 student, A1 plus A10. In examination scenario, I will not even write this equation. More here I am writing, but in examination I will not write. I will do all the things, I will recommend you to do all the things in your mind. So average age of a group of 10 students is 15. Okay, the sum of ages of any 5 students is 75 years, any 5. Let's say I take a combination A1, A2, A5, then A5 to A10, or A1, A3. So what they are saying, any you take, that is 75 years. What is the age of the youngest group? See, एक तो तरीका है कि you started making equation, you solving it, उसमें निकल गया 7-8 minutes, that is suicidal. You know, that either you have to leave this question or you have to think the way you have to think in aptitude examination. What you will do, okay, let me see, you know, how I am going to think. I will say, okay, I have this equation, there are 10 people they are talking about, and they had said their sum of their age is, you know, 150, or the average is 10. Okay. Then I know that any 5 people I take, so out of 10, I take any 5 people, right? So how many, okay, you know, this is for my, you know, so I will say 10 factorial upon 10 minus 5 into 5 into 5, right? This many variables I will get, and this is nothing but the 10 into 8 into 9 into 7 into 6 upon 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. See, don't worry if you're, see what I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think, okay, if I take this combination out of 10, 5, how many, you know, equations I will get? Okay, I said, okay, I got this many number of equations. But see, immediately when I'm thinking this, an idea is coming to my mind. Okay, I will get many equations, but the question is what? The age of the youngest student. So see, this boils down not only to youngest, but can I identify can I solve all the A1, A2 and A10, you know, individual value? See, if till I do not get the individual value of A1 to A10, I cannot find the youngest student. So if you can, using these two equations and, you know, thinking about this, you can refute it. Then it is fine. Okay. I think the answer is, it cannot be answered both, you know, both statement are, answer is D, right? Let's just, see whatever is answered, that is question number 63. क्या आंसर है आपका? Okay, not 63, 60. Okay, neither statement nor alone statement is answer the question. Just a minute. Okay, so this is the key one. So D is the answer. Okay, so see what my point is. If you have that mental ability, you have trained your mind, see you can think this, you know, without writing equation, then attempt this question. If you are going to, somebody is going to write 10 equations and solve it, no. This is not a, you know, examination of algebra, this is an aptitude examination. Either you bring this thought process or either you leave this question, right? So smallest 5-digit number is, you know, you will take the LCM and that's fine, and then you will try to identify the number closest to 10,000, and that will be, these questions are ordinary, right? Now there is one more difficult question which I want to discuss. This pie chart question is fine. Okay, 7. Okay. Okay, now see this question. 6-digit die. Then how many different ways can you roll 3 consecutive number in a straight line? How it can be happen? 3, 1, 2, 3 हो सकता है, right? 2, 3, 4 हो सकता है, 3, 4, 5 हो सकता है, 3, 4, 5, right? Then 4, 5, 6 हो सकता है. So there are 4 ways. Okay, इसमें probability आपको लगाने की जरूरत नहीं है. You just have to think clearly. There is one more question. Okay. See, now this question. UPSC asks question like this, man. Let's say I have 100. If I increase 100 by 10% and then decrease by 10%, so what is going to happen? My net value is going to decrease. So this logic is more important. The same thing is happened. The price is first decreased by 10%. Let's say I decrease by 10%, 100 को decrease किया तो 90 पहुंचा, right? And then increase by 15%. इसको फिर 15, मान लो इसको 10% increase किया होता तो मैं 99 पे ही पहुंचता, right? 90 का 10% 9. लेकिन अब मैं 15% increase कर रहा हूँ तो I am going more than something higher. So you have to check. I think the correct answer is this. So this logic is more important, that if you increase something by first increase and then decrease, then the net effect is total reduction, right? If you 110 का 10% decrease करोगे, you will be lower than 100, right? So now let me take the last question now. Okay. Okay, this is the last question of today's discussion. What is happening here? In this recent years, there has been growing concern about income inequality and its impact on society. While markets are known to reward individual initiative and skill, they also exacerbate income inequality. The wealth gap between the rich and poor is widening, and some people are being left behind. This has led to call for greater government intervention in the economy to provide social services. On the basis of which of the following assumptions have been made? See, assumption पूछ रहा है. Market alone are sufficient to reduce income inequality. Forget assumption. This is kind of a negating, right? The message of the income inequality is not a concern in modern society. Okay, so you will say, okay, why all these things, right? Government intervention is necessary to reduce income inequality. Yes, that is what the message is trying to say, right? Government intervention is quite social safety nets. In individual initiative and skills are the only factor that determines one's economic success. See, now let's say come to this five one. The widening wealth gap is the result of lack of individual effort and initiative. See, now this kabhi lagta hai, but this message is not being conveyed here. So here you will deny it. Now come to the third part and the fourth. Individual initiative and skills are the only factor that determines one's economic success. So they have talked about here? Yes, they have talked about, right? Individual initiative. Okay, no, they have not talked about this. There is inequality when my career reward individual initiative. Okay, yes, the individual initiative is called only factor that determines one's economic success. Yes, 3 and 4. So I think your answer should be B. Just let me check. Yes, your answer is B. So this way, we have completed the discussion. See, what my point is, you will solve many questions. Try to, whatever in this discussion, try to focus on the important ideas, the thought process, how to think, which question you do not have to attempt, and which question you have to, while you practice, you have to practice it thoroughly. Okay? Thank you very much.